Welcome to Hometown Happenings. I'm Carol McCarthy here with Peter Paulson, and he is the director of Young Life in Detroit Lakes, the Lakes Area Young Life, and we're in the offices of Young Life today. And Pete, you're going to talk a little bit about you're celebrating a big event this year.
We're having a birthday party, a 40-year birthday party. I wasn't obviously for the first one, but Young Life has been in the area for 40 years. And so on August 4th this year, or October 4th this year, we get to celebrate the whole last 4 decades of Young Life and how it's impacted the community and the people involved with it. And so yeah, it's fun to actually get a chance to celebrate something big like that.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, I have known people in Young Life and have been involved in some of the Young Life activities and events that have been put on in the community throughout the years. But let's talk a little bit about Young Life, what the organization is about, and maybe dip back and where it all began. Just a brief, how did it come to Detroit Lakes?
Yeah, well, it's fun stories to tell because it's. They're part of our community, and I think a lot of people in this community have heard of Young Life. They've been involved with it at some point as a kid or had their kids involved, and but they wonder what is this Young Life? Where did it come from? How did it get here? And just to make things clear, we actually have a couple things in our area which we're really blessed to have. There's a camp called Castaway, which actually they just celebrated their 50th anniversary, and that's also part of Young Life. But it's one of 23 camps that we own throughout the United States and Canada, where kids from local areas actually will go with their Young Life leaders from their area to these camps. We happen to have one in our backyard, which is just incredible. It's the most amazing place. If you haven't had a chance to check out Castaway, you need to get out there because it's just unbelievable. And that's where the triathlon, as you know, used to be as well. But there's another part of it as well, which works with kids in the local community. So Castaway kids will come to it from other parts, but for Young Life, in the Lakes area, it's been here for 40 years, so it's about 10 years less. And what the premise of Young Life is, it's caring adults who believe that every kid has a right to know their Creator and that they're created in love and that they're created by a God who loves them deeply and knows them intimately. And so these adults actually, they kind of walk into the world of kids. They build friendships with these kids. So it's an adult to adolescent relationship. And through that, they get to share with them not only the gospel, but their lives as well. And so what happened to start it in our Lakes area, there was a man and wife, Fred and Sue Harker, who were involved with Young Life in the Chicagoland. And due to Fred's job, they moved back to this Lakes area where Sue's relatives had a cabin, so they moved back up here for that job. And they said they love the area. It's perfect to raise a family. It's just an ideal area. And those of us who live here know what they're talking about. But they said the one problem was that there was no Young Life. And they had 5 daughters that they wanted to have involved with it, and they just knew that it was important for a small town like this to have something like Young Life. And they had they had friends of some friends named Dave and Mary Carlson, and Dave was the property manager at Castaway. And so they talked to Fred and Sue talked to Dave and Mary and said, we're coming up there. We'd like to see something get going. And so the two of them, they also involved some others like Lynn Hummel and Bev Hummel, and then they got Robin and Jennifer Turnwall involved and some other folks. And they started the area back then, 40 years ago. And really what it came down to from them was saying, we believe that these kids need to have an opportunity to know Christ in a very real way. And a lot of kids will never go to churches. We have incredible churches. We've always had great churches in this community, but just some kids will never darken the door of the church. And so what Young Life is it's an arm of all churches that kind of walks in the world of kids and gets kids introduced to the faith and help them get plugged into local churches is kind of the goal. So it's been neat. They even hear Sue talk about how what some of the initial dollars and support that happened to make Young Life happen was through a couple of local churches here that just saw it as a great outreach opportunity from their churches and through all the churches together in an ecumenical way to reach out to kids. And so ever since the beginning, that was kind of the heartbeat of it. And for the last 40 years, that's what's been happening. Adults in the community have been walking in the world of kids and getting to know Jesus a little bit. So.
All right. So it's a very positive thing. And what ages of kids are usually involved in Young Life?
Well, it's really, we're driven towards adolescence. It started out for the high school, 9th through 12th grade, but about 20 years ago, and Young Life in the Lakes area is actually one of the first areas in the mission of Young Life to actually start up this thing called Wildlife, which was a middle school age Young Life, which is just Young Life, but done for middle school age kids. And so I think it was in the early 90s, late 80s, they started a wildlife program here in the Lakes area. So then we're work with 7th through 12th graders, and now in middle school we have 6th to 8th graders in there as well. So right now in the Lakes area, it's 6th through 12th graders is kind of the target group. And we're also starting some new ministries that are targeting specific groups of adolescents that don't naturally go in the same direction or having the same flow that traditional students do, and that's with teen moms and kids with special needs. Our teen moms program is called Young Lives, and that's where it's a brand new. We're just basically kind of starting that with some programming. So.
All right, so that's very neat. We're walking through the 40 years of Young Life here with Pete Paulson, who's the director now in Detroit Lakes, and that was a brief synopsis. I mean, there's a lot of stories that have been told, and I know that at your banquet and at your celebration, you're going to have a lot of those folks come back or captured them in video telling the stories too. That's very cool.
We could fill up about 3 weeks worth of the stuff we've been uncovering in the archives for the last couple weeks have been just amazing. We wish we could share it all, but we've only got a 2-3 hour window to do it, so we're going to do the best we can now.
Okay, well, we're going to take a break now, and we'll be back with more with Peter Paulson from Young Life. Welcome back to Hometown Happenings. I'm Carol McCarthy here with Pete Paulson from Young Life, and we're talking about celebrating 40 years of Young Life in the Lakes area. And Pete, you're giving us a little bit of the history and some of the things that kind of the concept and the mission statement of Young Life. But what does it mean to be a Young Life kid?
Yeah. That's a question that people always ask. Well, how does it actually work? You have to sign up. Do you have to become a member? And Young Life is something that you don't have to be a member for. It's something you just kind of can attend to. And there's kind of 4 parts of Young Life that we really kind of programmatically do. One that is very popular is this thing called Young Life Camp, where we bring kids to a camp like Casper we talked about before, which is camping here in Detroit Lakes. We bring our middle school kids there. But we've also brought kids to Colorado. We brought kids to Montana skiing. We brought kids to Michigan, where we do go right now for Young Life Camp. And it's a week away from home to just get away from the distractions. We even take away their cell phones, and they willingly give them to us, which is crazy. And we have crazy adventure. We use lots of humor to break down walls and just build relationships with their kids. The leaders from the area go with kids to camp. They have a week there, and then they come home, which is cool because our leaders are there with them when they come home. It's not something you send your kids to. It's you go with kids. So that's one area, camp. Another one is club, which is a weekly thing that happens for middle school and high school age kids. Bi-monthly for middle school age kids, weekly for high school kids, which is a 1 hour and 15-minute window where we get to play with kids using music and humor, and we get a chance to share with them about who Christ is there as well. The third thing is called Campaigners, which is kind of a small group thing, which kids that are really interested in what we're talking about but are kind of walking through the initial things of faith. It's a small group group that meets with them called Campaigners. And the fourth one is a distinctive called Contact Work, which is really adults. That's really the heartbeat of what it is, which is our volunteers actually spending time in the world of kids, just not with any program, and just to hang out with them, get to know them a little bit. And so usually kids will come to our clubs, come to camp with us, or they have a leader involved with them that just hangs out with them in their world too. So
well, that's very cool. So it's all about building relationships. So it's been at work in our community for 40 years, and carrying it on into the next 40 years. You've got great events. We've only got a few seconds left here, but you've got great events that you bring it out into the community. With the triathlon.
And those events are they're run by adults in our community, on our committee and our subcommittees as well. And those are meant to support the work we do directly with kids. And so we do a triathlon. We sell Christmas trees as well, and we'll do other things from time to time as well. But really, those are just to be supportive of the mission of what we're doing, which is introducing adolescents to Christ and helping them grow in their faith.
All right, so you do good work, Pete, and thanks for taking on the role as the director of Young Life, taking it into the next 40 years. So.
Well, we've got amazing volunteers, so I don't really do anything, so it's great. It's a great
you
job.
Do these interviews, though.
No, exactly. I come here, I do that. But we have amazing volunteers. We have dozens and dozens of volunteers that make this thing go, which is really incredible.
Okay, Pete Paulson from Young Life, Carol McCarthy from Hometown Happenings.